What's up, everybody, and welcome to your lesson on the settling of the American colonies. So the first big thing that you need to know is that the Europeans settled for a variety of different reasons and with a variety of different strategies. Spain was there mostly for gold. They also had a goal of converting natives, but that didn't turn out very well because it led to the establishment of the encomienda system. The encomienda system was essentially a system in which natives who were not Christian worked for Spanish settlers who were Christian, in theory so that the Christian settlers could convert the non-Christian natives, but what ended up happening was just exploitation of natives in the process. Bartolomé de las Casas, actually, who was a Spanish priest at the time, saw the conditions of Spanish settlement around the area of Mexico, South America, and spoke out against it in very, very strong terms and basically just said, this isn't what we should be doing as Christians. The French and the Dutch were mostly there for trade. They were very willing to intermarry with the natives if that meant that it created a better trade agreement for them. Now, the English were really, really unique in the sense that they were willing to send over entire families and really settle on the North American continent. Now, they came for a collection of different reasons: economic prosperity, religious freedom, and then also just to have better living conditions, because at the time, England wasn't doing very well as far as living standards went. It was very, very dirty, and unless you owned land, there was a good chance that you were living in filth. And they did this through a joint stock company, and the big one was the Virginia Company. Joint stock companies are essentially companies where investors can invest in your trip to the New World and then get a return on whatever it is that you bring back. So the early trips to America are really profit-seeking ventures. For example, the Chesapeake and North Carolina territories, what they are doing is they're growing tobacco there. Kind of like with natives, when in doubt, we say corn. With Virginia, when in doubt, tobacco. Tobacco is going to make a ton of money for these Virginia settlements after they figure out that they have it, after having been there for a little while. But it's a labor-intensive crop. At first, the Virginia colonies are going to have white indentured servants who come along for the ride to the New World. They can work for a few years and gain their freedom. But eventually, whenever land becomes more and more plentiful in the Americas and cheaper, it becomes easier to import African slaves. Now, the New England colonies, the ones that perhaps we know a little bit better, developed around small towns with family farms and achieved a mixed economy of agriculture and commerce. And these New England colonies are usually the ones that are coming because of a split in England and a desire to live out a more pure version of their brand of Christianity. Now, the middle colonies, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, they had an awesome economy based on cereal crops. Cereal crops are crops grown to eat. That shouldn't be too hard to remember. Now, in general, these middle colonies are going to attract more diverse types of Europeans who are going to come for a diverse number of reasons: cultural, ethnic, and religious. Now, in general, these middle colonies are going to be slightly less religiously tolerant than will be those New England Puritans that are very, very hard and fast on the rules. Now, the southern colonies are going to be plantation economies that are going to export staple crops. And the big staple crop is going to be cotton, but it could also be tobacco and rice in these southern colonies. The British West Indies down below, more in what we would call the Caribbean, they're going to be one of the first places on the North American continent to get enslaved Africans working their crops. Eventually, those enslaved Africans in the 1600s are going to start working their way up into these southern colonies because these staple crops are labor-intensive crops. And quickly, the southern colonies realize they don't have enough people to work there. Now, keep in mind that these colonies are extremely disconnected from each other. We are not talking about the United States of America yet. We're not even talking about America, because while these colonies are disconnected from each other, most of them have something in common, and that is ownership by Great Britain. But they are across the ocean from each other, and Great Britain is going to take a very hands-off approach to these colonies, essentially letting the colonies be. That means that these 13 colonies are going to form their own governments and really take care of themselves. The New England colonies based power in participatory town meetings, which in turn elected members to their colonial legislature. In the southern colonies, elite planters exercised local authority and also dominated the elected assembly. So what you're going to see is that planters in the South have a whole lot of say over what happens there. So that's it for the settling of the original 13 colonies. In the next video, we're going to get into the transatlantic slave trade and how things are going with the natives as all of this settlement happens.